The night shift inside the alien outpost was always quiet. Almost too quiet. The stars outside the viewing glass looked frozen, and the machines hummed with the same rhythm as always. Most guards sat half asleep, their eyes drifting, because nothing exciting ever happened this far from the core worlds. But for Lyra, the young alien girl sitting at the radar console, the silence was heavy. She had only joined the watch team 6 months ago. She was younger than the others, still learning, still proving herself. Her hands moved carefully across the glowing controls. Her sharp eyes studied every signal. Then something changed. A tiny blip appeared on the radar just for a moment. It was small, fast, and strange. Lyra blinked and leaned closer. The line of the radar swept again, and the blip came back, not in the same place, but moving. She frowned, her heart beating faster. Ships crossed this sector sometimes, but their signals always matched known signatures. This one didn't, the shape, the pattern, even the energy waves. None of them matched any alien ship she knew, Supervisor, she said softly, her voice a little unsure. The older alien, a tired male with heavy eyelids, looked up lazily. "What now, girl?" he asked, already annoyed. There's a contact on the edge of the grid," she said, pointing at the faint signal. "It's moving fast. But the pattern, it's different, not like the usual freighters or scouts." The man sighed, walked over and looked at the screen. The blip flashed once more, then vanished. He shook his head. "A ghost echo, nothing to waste time on, you'll learn. These machines play tricks," but Lyra didn't believe it. Her training told her echoes faded in a straight line. This thing had moved. It had curved away like it was alive. She bit her lip. "Sir, I think it's real. It doesn't match any of our archives. What if—" "Enough," the supervisor snapped. "You've been reading too many myths. Humans don't exist. They're stories told to scare children." The other guards chuckled from their chairs. One of them called out, "Careful, Lyra, maybe the humans will come take you away." They laughed louder. Her cheeks burned with shame. She wanted to argue, to scream that she wasn't imagining it, but her voice caught in her throat. She sat back down, staring at the radar. Her hands trembled. For the next hour, nothing happened. The radar was empty again. She began to wonder if maybe she really had imagined it. Maybe the others were right. Maybe she was just tired. But then, the blip returned. This time it was closer, stronger. It pulsed with energy she had never seen before. Her breath caught. She zoomed in on the coordinates. Her fingers flying over the console. The shape was small but sharp. And then, without warning, it vanished again as if it had never been there. Her chest tightened. Was it playing with them? Was something out there watching? She whispered to herself, "It's real. I know it's real." But she couldn't tell the others. They would only laugh again. She copied the last data into her private storage crystal, hiding it quickly before anyone noticed. The night dragged on. The stars outside shone cold. The machines hummed as always, but for Lyra, the silence was no longer peaceful. It was heavy with a secret. When her shift ended, she walked slowly back to her small quarters. Her mind kept replaying the strange signal. The stories she had read as a child came rushing back. Tales of humans, the ancient race that once shook the stars. The council said they were gone, destroyed long ago, only myths now. But her heart told her otherwise. She had seen it, she had proof. She sat on her bunk, holding the crystal tight in her hands. "They laughed at me," she whispered. "But I know what I saw. Outside the window, the endless stars blinked. Somewhere out there, hidden among the darkness, something had moved. Something had revealed itself only for her eyes. And if the old myths were true, then the galaxy was about to change." Lyra could not sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, the image of the strange blip returned. She kept seeing the sharp flash of energy, the way it curved across the radar, the way it vanished like smoke. Her heart would not calm down. She turned in her bed, staring at the ceiling of her small quarters. The words of her supervisor echoed in her ears. Humans don't exist, they're stories, but deep inside, she knew that was a lie. She had seen something real. By morning, her decision was clear. If the council and her commanders refused to listen, then she would find the truth herself. The outpost had a hidden library, a place where old records were stored. It was forbidden for low-ranking staff like her. Only scholars and officers had access, but Lyra had always been curious. She had mapped the corridors during her training days. She knew the blind spots of the guards. That evening, when the hallways grew quiet, She slipped out of her quarters. Her steps were careful, light. Her pulse raced as she moved deeper into the restricted zone. The door to the archive loomed ahead, sealed with an old biometric lock. She pressed her hand to the panel. It blinked red, denied her, but she was ready. She pulled a small stolen chip from her pocket, a tool she had crafted long ago just in case. With quick hands, she slid it into the lock. The panel flickered, glitched, then finally turned green. The heavy door opened with a whisper. The air inside smelled old, dry, as if dust from centuries past still lingered. Rows of glowing data crystals stretched across the chamber. She stepped inside, her eyes wide with wonder. Her fingers brushed across the shelves until she found the section labeled Myth and Extinct Races. Her heart skipped. The crystals here were covered in warning tags, do not access. Restricted by council order. She hesitated only for a second before pulling one free. It glowed faintly in her palm. She carried it to the nearest console and slid it in. The screen came alive, a flood of ancient records appeared. Lyra's breath caught as she read the first words. The humans. The forgotten threat. Her eyes darted across the lines. They spoke of a species that had risen faster than any other. A species that spread across the stars with fire and invention. They were strong, clever, and dangerous. The council had declared them destroyed over 1,000 years ago. Wiped out after a great war, but not all the records agreed. Some spoke of human fleets disappearing into the void. Some whispered that they had hidden themselves in dark space, waiting. Her hands trembled as she scrolled further. A grainy image flickered on the screen, an old radar capture. The shape looked shockingly similar to the blip she had seen the night before. Her chest tightened. It was the same pattern, the same strange energy signature. It's true, she whispered. It's all true. Suddenly a cold voice spoke behind her. You should not be here, she spun around. Nearly falling from the chair, an old officer stood in the doorway. His face half hidden in shadow. His uniform was worn. His eyes heavy with age. Please. Let me explain, she started, her words stumbling. But the officer raised his hand. No need, I know what you saw. I was young once. I saw it too, her heart jumped. You saw them? The old man nodded slowly. Long ago, on another outpost. I saw the same signal, I reported it. They told me it was false, a glitch. They laughed at me. Two, his voice grew bitter. The council does not want the truth known. The humans are not gone. They are watching, waiting, choosing their moment. Lyra stepped closer. Then why hide it? Why pretend? The officer's eyes hardened. Because fear is easier to control. If the galaxy knew humans still lived, chaos would follow. Alliances would break, armies would rise. The council fears them even in silence. Her breath shook. She wanted to ask more, but suddenly alarms echoed through the hallways. Red lights flashed. The archive doors began to lock down. The officer grabbed her arm. They know you entered. We must leave now. He pulled her into a narrow passage away from the main hall. Their footsteps echoed as they ran. Lyra's heart pounded louder than the alarms. They reached a dark maintenance tunnel. The officer stopped, breathing hard. His voice was sharp, urgent. Listen to me, child. If you saw the signal again, they saw you too. Humans are not myths, they are real. And if they showed themselves to you, it means something. Her eyes widened. Why me? The officer shook his head. That I cannot answer. But mark my words, this is only the beginning. The humans never appear by mistake. Lyra clutched the crystal tighter, her chest burning with fear and excitement. The truth was no longer just a whisper in the archives, it was alive, moving, close. She looked back toward the sealed doors of the library, where the warnings glowed in red, and in that moment, she understood. Every myth carried a seed of truth, and the humans were more than a myth. They were out there, and they were coming back. The next morning, Lyra stood in front of the great council hall, her stomach twisted with nerves. The tall pillars seemed to glare down at her, and the guards outside barely looked at her. She was young, low rank, and out of place, but she carried something the others did not. Truth. Inside, the hall was wide and cold. The council members sat in a half circle, their robes dark and heavy, their faces stern, their eyes bored as if they had heard every story before. Lyra's hands tightened around the crystal hidden in her pocket. State your case, one counselor said without emotion. Lyra swallowed hard. Respected council, I bring urgent news. Last night during my shift, I detected an unidentified ship. It was fast, unlike any we know. The signature matches ancient records of humans. A heavy silence fell. For a moment she thought they might listen. But then laughter broke out. One of the older counselors leaned back, shaking his head. "Another child chasing shadows," he said. "We hear this every few years, a blip, an echo, a dream. And always it ends the same. Nothing," another added coldly. "Humans are myths, stories told to make us fear what cannot return. They are extinct. Do not waste our time." Lyra's face burned. Her chest hurt. "But I have proof," she said quickly. Pulling out the crystal, she placed it on the table. The image of the radar appeared. The sharp energy wave flashed across the screen. Clear and undeniable. The counselors leaned forward now, but their faces did not soften. One of them pressed a button, zooming in, his lips curled. "Do you know what this is, girl?" he asked sharply. "This is nothing but a corrupted signal. Old machines produce false shapes. You insult us with this?" Lyra stepped forward, her voice trembling but firm. "No, I compared it with the archive records. It is the same pattern. The humans are not gone. They are out there." The room grew colder. The council leader leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. His voice was sharp as a blade. "Enough, we forbid such talk. Humans are erased, they do not exist. And those who claim otherwise risk punishment." Gasps came from the side of the hall. The words struck like a hammer. Lyra's blood froze. "But why?" she began. The leader slammed his hand on the table. "Silence. Do you think you are the first to claim this? We will not spread panic. We will not allow lies." The guards at the door moved closer. Their hands on their weapons, Lyra's heart pounded. She could feel the weight of every eye on her. Mocking, doubting, crushing. She wanted to scream, but no words came then. A quiet cough echoed. Everyone turned. An old officer, the same man who had warned her the night before, stepped out of the shadows at the back of the chamber. His voice was low but steady. "She is not lying," he said. The council stirred. Angry whispers filled the room. One of the counselors pointed a trembling finger. You dare break silence again? You were warned years ago." The old officer's eyes did not flinch, "and yet the humans remain. Denying them will not erase them." The leader's face twisted with rage. "Remove him, remove them both." Guards rushed forward. Lyra's breath caught for a moment. She thought her life was over, but the old officer grabbed her arm. Pulling her back toward the exit. "Run," he whispered. "They will never believe, but you must survive. The truth needs a voice." The hall erupted in shouts. The counselors shouted orders. The guards gave chase. Lyra's legs moved without thought. Racing through corridors, the officer stayed close behind. His breath was harsh, but his grip never let go. They burst out into a side passage. Alarms ringing through the station. Red lights painted the walls. Voices shouted behind them. Finally, they stopped in a dark service tunnel, both panting, both shaking. The officer turned to her. "Now you see, the council will never admit the truth. They fear it. They fear the humans more than anything. That is why they bury the records. That is why they punish anyone who speaks." Lyra's eyes burned with tears. "But what can I do? They are stronger. They control everything." He stared at her, his eyes sharp despite his age. "You saw them, not me. Not them, you. That means something. Maybe they chose you." Her breath caught. The memory of the strange signal returned. The way it pulsed, the way it seemed almost alive. Had it really been meant for her? The officer gripped her shoulder. "Listen, child, they will hunt you now. But you must not stop. Find the signal again. Follow it. It will lead you to them, and then you will know why." His voice was heavy with warning and hope. Lyra wiped her eyes. She nodded slowly. Her fear had not vanished, but something stronger rose in her chest. A spark. A fire, she whispered, almost to herself. "If the humans are real, I will find them." Behind her, alarm still roared. The council's voice thundered across the station, calling her a liar, a criminal. But inside her heart, she carried the only truth that mattered. The humans were real, and they were closer than anyone dared believe. Lyra sat alone in the dark of her quarters. The silence of the outpost pressed against her ears. Every alarm, every shout from the council chamber still echoed in her memory. She had been called a liar, a fool, a criminal. The council had rejected her. The guards were searching for her. But none of that mattered now. She had seen the truth, and the truth could not be erased. Her hand shook as she held the small crystal she had saved. The image of the strange blip flickered across her portable screen, sharp and mysterious. It was no ghost, no glitch. She felt it deep in her bones. It had been deliberate. She leaned forward, whispering to herself, "Why show yourself to me? Why only me? As if answering her, the console in her room suddenly beeped. A new signal flashed across the screen. Her breath caught. The symbol was not alien, it was simple, repeating almost like a rhythm. She quickly locked the door, pulled the screen closer, and began to decode. The pattern repeated. A pulse, then silence, a pulse, then silence. Her fingers flew over the keys, translating bit by bit. Her eyes widened as the words formed, clear and undeniable. We are not gone. Her chest tightened. Her heart raced faster than she thought possible. She read the words again, trembling. We are not gone. Humans. The signal was from humans. It had to be. Her throat went dry. Were they watching her right now? Had they chosen her for some reason? The thought was terrifying and thrilling. Suddenly the console buzzed again. This time the signal shifted. A set of coordinates appeared, glowing faintly. The numbers pointed to a forbidden sector. A dark region of space where no patrols dared to go, she whispered. They want me to come, but fear stabbed her heart. If she followed, she would be branded a traitor. If she stayed, the council would silence her forever. A knock shook her door. She jumped, quickly hiding the screen under her blanket. Lyra, a harsh voice called. By order of the council, you are under arrest. Her blood turned cold, guards. She backed away from the door, searching desperately for escape. Then she remembered the old officer's words. Follow the signal. It will lead you to them. Without thinking, she grabbed the screen, the crystal, and her small pack. She opened the maintenance hatch at the back of her quarters and crawled into the narrow tunnel. Behind her, the door burst open. Heavy boots stormed inside. Voices shouted her name. But by then, she was already crawling through the dark. Her breath loud in her ears. The tunnels carried her toward the docking bay. Her mind raced. Could she really do this? Could she follow a signal into forbidden space? She reached the bay, hiding behind crates. Dozens of ships stood waiting, but only one was small enough to escape without notice. A simple scout craft. Half broken, often ignored, her fingers shook as she keyed in the override. The door hissed open. She slipped inside, powering up the systems. The hum of the engines filled her chest. Through the glass, she saw guards flooding into the bay, shouting, pointing, too late. The scout craft lifted, engines roaring. It shot out into the void before they could fire. Stars stretched before her, endless and cold. Her hands gripped the controls tightly. She opened the coordinates from the signal, locked them in, and pushed the throttle. The craft leapt forward, cutting across the empty dark. Her heart pounded with every passing second. Hours turned into a blur. Only the stars and the steady pulse of the signal kept her awake. The words still echoed in her mind. We are not gone. Finally, the craft slowed. She stared out at the sector. Nothing but black space, no stars, no stations. Only silence. Her chest sank. Had she been tricked? Then, her console lit up again. A new signal appeared, sharper, closer. She turned her head and gasped. A shadow loomed out of the darkness. At first she thought it was an asteroid. But then lights flickered across its surface. A shape emerged, vast, alien, and yet somehow familiar. A ship unlike any she had ever seen. Its angles were sharp, its hull scarred with age. But its power was undeniable. The design was not alien. It was different, older, stronger. Her mouth went dry. A human ship, she whispered. The console buzzed one last time. A voice came through, rough but clear. It spoke in her language, each word heavy with meaning. You were the only one who looked closely. Now you must decide. Lyra froze, her entire body trembled. This was real. This was no myth, no dream. The humans were alive, and they were speaking to her. She stared at the giant ship outside, its shadow covering her small craft, and in that moment she knew her life and the galaxy itself would never be the same again. The human ship hung in the dark like a silent mountain. Its shadow stretched over Lyra's small scout craft. Her hands shook on the controls. The voice still echoed in her head. You were the only one who looked closely now. You must decide. But before she could answer, alarms flashed on her console. Multiple contacts were approaching fast. Lyra's stomach dropped. She knew that signal, the outpost fleet. Her people had tracked her. They were coming for her. Red lights blinked across the screen. Dozens of patrol ships locked onto her location. Their formation was tight, their weapons charged. Her breath came short. No, they followed me. The comm crackled. The cold voice of the council leader filled her ears. Lyra of Outpost 12, power down your craft at once. You are guilty of treason and theft of restricted data. Surrender now. Her chest tightened. She looked at the human ship, still silent, still watching. Then back at the swarm of patrol ships closing in, she whispered, "What do I do?" As if answering, the human ship suddenly shifted. Lights ran across its surface, engines glowed. For the first time it moved. A massive wave of energy pulsed from its hull. Washing across the stars, Lyra's console went wild. Enemy locks broke apart, patrol weapons flickered, confused. The humans hadn't even fired a shot. Yet the alien fleet stumbled like blind children. Voices shouted through her comm, "Systems down!" Guidance lost. Panic filled the channel. The human voice returned, calm and heavy. "Choose, child, will you go back to their chains or follow the path you already began?" Her throat went dry. The choice stabbed at her. If she went back, she would be silenced. If she followed the humans, she would be branded a traitor forever. But in her heart, the answer was already there. Her hand slammed the throttle forward. She pushed her craft toward the human ship. Straight through the chaos of the patrols, lasers flashed past her. One struck the edge of her wing, shaking her violently. She bit her lip to stop from screaming. "Target her!" The council leader's voice roared. "Bring her down!" But the humans moved faster. A shimmering shield of light spread from their ship, wrapping her small craft. Shots from the patrols bent away like water striking stone. Her eyes widened. Her people's weapons were useless. The patrol fleet tried to reposition, but the humans did not flee. Instead, the massive ship drifted forward with slow confidence. Its shadow swallowed the patrols. Its presence alone made their formation break impossible. A voice whispered over the comm, fear choking the words. Lyra gripped her seat, her body shaking. She had never seen her people afraid, not like this. The council always spoke of control, of strength, but now, in front of this one human vessel, they looked weak. The officer's words echoed in her memory. The humans never appear by mistake. The humans were not hiding anymore. They had revealed themselves, deliberately for her to see, for the fleet to fear. The council leader's voice returned, now sharp with desperation. "Lyra, listen to me. You do not understand what you are dealing with. These creatures are dangerous. They will use you. They will destroy you. Come back and we will forgive your crimes." Tears burned Lyra's eyes. She almost wished she could believe him, but she remembered his cold face, the way he had silenced her, the way they had mocked her, the way they buried the truth. She whispered, "I'm not going back." The human voice filled her cockpit once more. "Then hold steady, we will clear the path." The great ship's engines flared. A deep vibration shook the stars. Lyra's console screamed as the patrols were forced back by waves of power. Not one shot touched her. The council fleet broke formation. Some ships fled, others stayed, but none dared advance closer. Lyra's small craft slipped into the shadow of the human vessel. For a moment she felt safe, untouchable, but she knew it wasn't over. The chase had only begun. The council would not stop. They would send more ships, stronger fleets, anything to erase the truth. Her breath slowed as she looked up at the massive hull above her. Scars covered its surface. Proof of ancient battles, yet it still stood. "Alive, powerful, why me?" she whispered again. "Why show yourselves to me?" The human voice answered at last, softer but firm. "Because you saw when others refused, and because the galaxy will need someone who still believes." Lyra pressed her forehead against the console, her heart a storm she had chosen, and now there was no turning back. Behind them, the alien patrols scattered, already calling for reinforcements. Ahead of her, the human ship opened a bay, inviting her inside. The chase would continue, stronger and more dangerous than ever. But for the first time in her life, Lyra felt she was exactly where she was meant to be. The bay doors of the human ship opened like the mouth of some giant beast. Lyra's tiny craft drifted inside, guided by invisible force fields. Her hands shook as she touched the controls. The scout ship landed gently on a wide platform. The engines powered down on their own, leaving only silence. Her breath caught. She had never felt so small. The bay stretched far above her head, filled with strange machines and markings she could not read. Everything looked old, scarred by time, but also alive with power. The voice returned through her console. "Step out. You are safe here." Her heart pounded. Safe? She wasn't sure if she even believed that. Yet her legs moved, weak and trembling. She pressed the hatch, the door hissed open. Warm air washed over her, different from the cold recycled air of her outpost. It smelled faintly metallic, but sharper, cleaner. She stepped down slowly, her boots echoing against the metal floor, and then she froze. A figure stood at the far end of the bay, tall, broad-shouldered. The light from above cast his shadow long across the ground. His face was hidden, but she could see the strange lines of his suit. It wasn't alien armor, it was different, simpler, yet stronger. Her lips parted. Her voice was barely a whisper. A human. The figure stepped forward. His footsteps were steady, confident. His face came into the light, his skin was pale compared to hers. His eyes sharp and piercing, his expression was calm, but his presence carried weight like a storm about to break. He spoke, his words rough but clear. You are the first of your kind to look without fear. That is why we answered. Lyra's knees weakened, she almost fell. She had imagined this moment in whispers and stories, but never truly believed it would happen. And yet, here he was, living proof that humans were real. She swallowed hard. Why me? Why not the council? Why not the leaders? The human studied her for a long moment. Then he said, because the leaders are blind. They want power, they fear us, they bury the truth. But you saw the truth and refused to turn away. Her chest tightened. She remembered the council's mocking laughter, their cold threats, and suddenly she understood. They had never wanted the truth. They only wanted silence. The human continued. We have watched for centuries, waiting, learning. The galaxy believes we are gone. But we are not gone, we never left, we chose the shadows. Because light was not ready. Lyra's breath trembled. And now, he stepped closer. His eyes seemed to look straight through her. Now the galaxy is at the edge of change. And we will step forward again, but not without choice. Not without allies who understand. She froze. Allies? The man nodded. You! The word hit her like a blow. Her mind spun. Me? I am nobody. I am just a trainee. They laugh at me. They call me foolish. His eyes softened. That is why you were chosen. Not for rank, not for title, but for vision. You believed when belief was forbidden? That is rare, that is strength. Her hands shook. She didn't know whether to cry or scream. But inside her chest a fire began to burn. Suddenly the ship trembled. A sharp alarm echoed through the bay. Red lights flashed. The human turned his head sharply. They are coming, he said, his voice steady. Your council has sent more ships, faster ones. They will try to break us here. Lyra's blood ran cold. She knew it was true. The council would never stop until they erased her and buried the truth again. The human raised his hand, signaling her to follow. Come. You must see. She ran after him, her boots clanging against the floor. They moved through wide corridors, lit with strange, glowing strips. The walls were lined with scars, but every system hummed with quiet power. Finally, they entered a chamber. Vast and circular, screens surrounded them, showing the void outside, and there, on the edges of the black, flashes of light appeared. Dozens of alien ships dropping from hyperspace. Her breath caught. The council's fleet had arrived. Larger than before, hunters, warships, all aimed at the humans. The human's face was calm, his voice steady. This is what they fear. They fear what we might do. But fear blinds them, Lyra whispered, her voice breaking. They will kill us. His eyes flicked to her, sharp and steady. Or they will learn. The screens filled with the enemy fleet closing in. Their weapons glowed, ready to fire. The air was heavy, silent, waiting. Lyra's heart pounded so hard she thought it might break her chest. She looked at the man beside her, standing tall, calm, unshaken, and for the first time, she realized something. Humans did not just survive in the shadows. They thrived there. They grew stronger, waiting for this moment. The council thought they were chasing one girl, one ship. But what they had really done was force the humans to reveal themselves. The encounter had begun, and the galaxy would never forget it. The human stood tall in the command chamber, his eyes fixed on the screens. Outside, the alien fleet closed in, warships forming a net around the human vessel. Lyra's breath caught with every flash of light. Her people's ships outnumbered this one by dozens, yet fear twisted inside her, not for the humans, but for her own kind. The council's voice suddenly thundered across the comms, sharp and full of venom. Surrender the traitor to us at once, or we will reduce your ship to dust. Lyra flinched at the words. But the human commander did not move. His calm was terrifying. Like a mountain standing against a storm, he pressed one control, and his voice echoed back across the channel, deep and steady. We are not gone. The silence that followed was heavy. She could almost hear the counselors choking on their rage. You dare. One alien captain shouted, "You were erased, you were destroyed." The human's lips curved slightly, not a smile, but a grim truth. You cannot erase what refuses to die. The enemy fleet advanced. Weapons charging. Bright lines of energy lit the void. Lyra pressed her hands to the console, her heart racing. "They're going to fire," she whispered. The human turned to her, his eyes sharp and alive. "Then watch. Watch and remember." The first volley came. Dozens of blasts streaking toward the human ship. Lyra braced for the impact, but before they landed, the vessel glowed with strange light. A shimmering barrier spread out like rippling water. The blast struck and bent away, scattering harmlessly into the void. Gasps filled the comm channels. Captains shouted in disbelief, "Impossible! Their shields, our weapons do nothing." Lyra's eyes widened. Her people's fleet was powerless. Every story she had read, every warning in the archives, suddenly it was real before her eyes. The humans were stronger than myths, the commander spoke again. His voice iron. "We do not seek war, but we will not be hunted. Your council hides the truth from you. They fear us not because we destroy, but because we endure." The words cut through her like fire. They were not monsters hiding in the shadows. They were survivors waiting for the right moment. The council leader's voice cracked through the chaos, full of desperation. "Do not listen to them. They are deceivers. They will enslave us all, destroy them." But even as he shouted, ships began to hesitate, formations broke. Some captains pulled back, unwilling to waste their crews against a power they did not understand. Lyra's heart pounded. This was it. The revelation the galaxy had denied for centuries. Humans were alive, and they were not broken. They stood stronger than ever. The human commander turned to her. His gaze weighed heavy. "You saw us when others closed their eyes now. You must choose. Do you return to those who mocked you, or do you carry the truth?" Her chest trembled. She thought of the outpost, the council chamber, the laughter, the threats. She thought of the archives and the old officer's warning. The humans never appear by mistake. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "I will carry it." The human nodded slowly as if sealing a pact. "Then you are no longer a prisoner of their lies, you are witness." And witnesses shape history. The word struck deep. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt weight in her soul. Not shame, not fear, but purpose. Outside, the alien fleet scattered. Some fled into hyperspace, others drifted powerless. The council leader's ship remained, its weapons still glowing, but even he seemed shaken. The commander raised his voice one last time across the void. The humans return not as conquerors, but as a reminder. Truth cannot be buried, and myths are born from memory. We are here, and we will no longer remain silent. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. Lyra stared out at the giant vessel surrounding her, its scarred hull glowing with strange life, and for the first time she understood why the galaxy feared them. Not because they were monsters, but because they were unbroken. The council's voice cracked through the comm, trembling with fury. "This changes nothing. You will never," but the signal cut off. Drowned by silence, the human ship had already turned, its engines lighting the dark, pulling away into the endless stars. Lyra pressed her hand against the glass, her voice a whisper. The myth was real all along. The revelation burned inside her. She was no longer just a trainee, no longer just a girl mocked for chasing shadows. She was the first to see, the first to believe, and now, the galaxy would never be the same.